Hey, Church on Five community, and those of you who are just checking us out online. Hey, listen, I wanted to share something really quickly with you as I've been reflecting on this virus and how it's really upended our lives. And really, when you think about it, what that means varies from family to family. For some of us, we have felt like our life has come to a complete halt. For others of us, it's interrupted the things we take for granted, but actually, we're not less busy. We're actually more busy. I know that I'm facing part of that reality when you're having to juggle kids and a lot more communications than you normally do. And so we're finding in this time that life has been upended for pretty much everyone, like everyone in our country, everyone around our society. No one's excluded from it, but it does affect us in different ways. And really what I think of when it comes down to it is limitation. Like, we're in a season of limitations. We can't just do the things we wanted to do. I was looking forward to baseball starting, and I was looking forward to going to ball games or going out to restaurants and the beach and the playground with the kids as the weather warms up. And we can't. We are limited on that. Some of us find that time is extremely limited. Some of us are finding our resources are a little limited at this time. We can't buy all the items we usually did at the grocery store. Toilet paper has been the classic example. Or maybe it's like you've lost your job, or you've seen your hours cut back, and you're seeing like a crunch, limited finances and resources that way. As members of the church, I want to challenge you today, because I know that for a lot of us, we can get, and I'm as guilty as anyone, we can get into this idea that because we have limitations, that means that our effectiveness is essentially done. It's gone. And that can lead for some of us, including myself, to be someone who isn't moving. Sometimes we find that life has thrown us a curveball, and instead of trying to figure out how to navigate the shores, you just kind of wait for things to improve. Well, let me counter that instinct in you, because I think for some of us, limitation equals inaction, and that has never been the mandate of the church. The church throughout the ages has always faced different seasons and situations where we have had unfortunate limitations come our way. I think the gospel stories tell those stories. Acts tells great stories that way. But it has never meant inaction. In fact, oftentimes it's meant just the opposite. And we're in a season right now where all of us have some semblance of limitation. But I actually want you to see these times as opportunities, not as kind of woe is me limitation times, because there is a world out there right now. I was just reading an article, even out of the Vancouver Sun, that is talking about how more and more people are turning to faith. There is a season right now where people don't have the answers. All of a sudden, everything we felt in our comfortable lives would be there has gone away. And it's left people isolated. It's left people with social anxiety, and all kinds of mental illness issues are popping up. People are looking for answers that society can't give them right now. And they're turning to spirituality. They're turning to God. They're looking at maybe the faith that they grew up with. And what I want to encourage you is, Easter is always a season in which people are a little bit more open to the opportunities of the gospel being presented to them. There's a lot of times for people, they'll go to an Easter service, their family will have a big dinner, they'll go with their kids. That's not happening this year, but don't think that there's not incredible opportunities. In spite of our limitations, there is tremendous action happening there. Just a win to share with you. We've been seeing, even in our online services on Sunday, we have been seeing hundreds and hundreds of people viewing those services who don't go to our church regularly. People are looking, they have more time on their hands, they're searching for answers. And although we have limitations, doesn't mean we have inaction. One really quick story. Jesus is teaching thousands of people on the mountainside. It's told in all the gospel stories. But in this particular story in John 6, Jesus is teaching. 5,000 men, including women and children, are there. Maybe 20,000 people are there. And the disciples come to them late in the day and say, there's no towns around us. There's no cities. These people have been with us all day. They have nothing to eat. And they were afraid they were going to get sick or collapse on the way home because they had no energy. And so they're looking to Jesus to do the thing he had done so many times, is do a miracle. And Jesus' response is so fascinating here. He doesn't say, "Oh, you just need to have more faith," or he doesn't just say, "Okay, I'll get right on it." He says this. He says, "You give them something to eat." Now think about that. You. He turns it right back over to them. He doesn't say, like, well, that kind of stinks, or you have to have more faith, or we need to pray. He just points it right back at them. See, what the disciples were doing is they were looking at what they didn't have. They were looking at their limitations. And what Jesus says is, I want you to actually focus on what you do have, and then give that to me to channel into a miracle for people's lives. I want to encourage you today that so many of us look at what we don't have, our limitations. And what I believe God is asking the church in this season is to actually stop and prayerfully ask, what is it that we do have? What resources, what connections, what finances? And then ask the question, and this is where we need a little bit of discipline, because when we pray, we talk. Just listen. Maybe it takes a couple days. Jesus, what is it that I have? Because I think this is a season where Jesus is looking, as much as we're praying for him to fix the world, that I think he's redeeming the world in a way that we might not be able to see on the surface. And he's asking us, what is it that we have? Maybe it's time for the church to give people something to eat. And we need to put that into the hands of Jesus. So here's what challenge for you is this. One is pray and ask God to reveal what that is to you, and then use that to bless people in this time where they really need it. They really need it, because I think the message and the gospel of Jesus comes through your actions and through your words and connections. But the other thing is look, we've got 2 services coming up. One is tomorrow on our Good Friday service. It is a service where all the churches in Richmond kind of do a piece. Church on Five's involved this year. Actually, we're presenting the message. And that will be online. That will be on our YouTube, our Facebook page, our website. And then our Sunday service that will be on our Facebook Live page at 10 a.m. Both of these are events, wonderful opportunities. Most of us are connected to people who don't know the gospel, or have not kind of crossed that line of faith. And what an incredible time when people are looking for answers, to be able to hear the gospel story presented in clarity. And maybe this is the season where there's a little bit more openness. Maybe this is the season where, in spite of this issue and in spite of our limitations, God is asking us to feed people around us and let him do the miracle through our obedience. Hey, listen, that's my challenge to you. We're in this together. We will get through it. But let's not sit. Let's move. Let's act as the church in this time and see what God redeems in the process. We love you. We're praying for you. See you later.